Our story begins during the Battle of Coruscant as the Jedi fighting in the Great Battle have realized the paralyzing truth. As they were distracted, fighting through the streets of Coruscant, General Grievous himself has entered the world and captured Chancellor Palpatine. The Jedi and clones that were protecting the Chancellor were quickly defeated, and Grievous took Palpatine up to space, where he would be held aboard the Invisible Hand flagship. This was the most crucial moment of the entire war. If Palpatine is killed or forced to sign some sort of treaty where the Republic surrenders, then the Separatists will win the war today. So, Mace Windu got to work on contacting the two most accomplished Jedi generals of the entire war, Skywalker and Kenobi. They were needed back here immediately. But, above Urbana, Skywalker and Kenobi had their hands tied, literally. Down on the surface, the Jedi and clones thought they had won the battle. The two Jedi returned to the capital ship, per the request of Admiral Yularen, but they were visited by Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan, who were asking for help on Mandalore. But before deliberation could get underway on this, the clones on the surface, including Cody, Rex, and the members of the 212th and 501st, were ambushed by a second wave of Separatist reinforcements that were mysteriously called in. The clones were under siege, forced to retreat into the caves that were hidden by the clouds, and in space, as Anakin and Obi-Wan were still in shock to see Ahsoka, a Separatist reinforcement fleet double their size would emerge from the other side of the planet. The 5 Republic Venators that were surrounding the main ship were ripped apart, and the one with Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Bo, and Yularen was disabled, as a boarding party of droids was coming for them. All communications out and into the ship were shut down. The Republic Jedi, the clones, and everyone else here was either killed or forced to surrender to the sheer number of droids, including a dozen of Dooku's personal Magna Guards. Luckily, the droids had no reason to think that Ahsoka and Bo were here on board, so the two of them were able to hide away for now. Anakin slipped Ahsoka the lightsabers that he got for her, and Ahsoka gave a subtle nod. And so, when Windu contacted Skywalker and Kenobi to come save Palpatine, he was contacting a ghost ship. No one answered. Concern for them would have to come later. For now, he had to adjust to Plan B. He couldn't go himself. Windu feared that Sidious was on the surface, waiting for him to leave, so he could take down the other Jedi. And so, as Windu and Kit Fisto were battling droids on top of a moving train car, Windu yelled at Fisto to take to the sky, go and rescue Palpatine. They only think that Grievous is on the Invisible Hand for now, and Fisto should be able to take him. Fisto smiled, saying he will do it, but it would be nice to have some reinforcements. Windu nodded, and then he contacted Cater Nemoidia. Out on a distant Trade Federation world, Plo Koon flew his personal starfighter through an exploding droid transport. Then he ejected, landing on the surface, and cutting through a dozen super battle droids, as Wolf and the rest of the pack would storm the main base, beginning the takeover of this world. Before Plo could move in, his comlink beeped rapidly, and he received his new orders. Plo asked Windu who would be accompanying him on this mission, and when Plo heard that it was going to be Fisto, he smiled a bit. Fisto, like Anakin and Ahsoka, had a way of just breaking through with Plo. The two of them worked well together, they'd become good friends, and they were also quite different, which was perhaps what often drew them together. And so, Plo told Windu he will take off for Coruscant immediately. The flight through hyperspace was very quick, which was one of the main reasons that Plo was contacted. And so, in space above Coruscant, Kit Fisto took to the sky, finding Saesee Tiin in space, getting next to him. Saesee and the clone squadron flying with him took on a full assault of the droids around the Invisible Hand, distracting them enough to give Fisto a straight shot for the ship. Fisto had taken around an hour to get to his ship, get an astromech who could fly with him, and help locate Palpatine, set up a plan with Saesee, and now fly through the huge battle. Fisto flew, spinning, firing around droid fighters, but in the end, he was no Skywalker. Buzz droids would catch up to him, disabling Fisto's weapons before he could shake them off, and Fisto would find himself headed straight for the Invisible Hand, with no weapons to destroy the shields with. He was about to abandon the mission, when Plo Koon suddenly spoke through the comms, telling Fisto to keep going. Plo blasted through the shields, allowing the two of them to spin into the hangar, cut down the droids, and greet each other after a long time. And in the spire of the Invisible Hand, Count Dooku was standing in front of Palpatine, who was seated in the hostage chair. The cuffs around Palpatine's wrist were rather amusing, considering the sheer power that lie within him. But Dooku suddenly gave Palpatine a puzzled look, saying that Skywalker and Kenobi are not here, like Palpatine had foreseen. Instead, it is Kit Fisto and Plo Koon. Palpatine didn't speak for a long while. He was now deep in thought. How was this possible? Urbana had the easiest path back to Coruscant. Skywalker and Kenobi were the obvious answers to return and rescue him. Palpatine specifically had made sure that they were on Urbana. Perhaps they've simply been delayed, or perhaps something else is at play here. Either way, Palpatine told Dooku to make sure that both of these Jedi are killed. Give the Republic no choice in who they send next. Out on Urbana now, as Anakin and Obi-Wan were being held captive aboard the Separatist capital ship, Ahsoka and Bo-Katan were able to sneak down to the surface. Captain Rex and Commander Cody were leading a counter-assault on the droid reinforcements, but it was at a stalemate until Ahsoka and Bo arrived. Ahsoka would lead Rex's squad, and Bo led Cody as they made a final push against the droids, defeating them, and then the entire group would take their starfighters into space. This attack would take the Separatist fleet by surprise. They couldn't deploy the Vulture droids in time. The ships would pour into the hangar of the lead ship, and the clones, led by Ahsoka and Bo, would begin a final rescue mission. Ahsoka would cut down Dooku's Magna Guards, freeing Anakin and Obi-Wan, who told Ahsoka it's very nice to have her back. Ahsoka smiled, saying they owe her one, and she has the perfect way for them to repay her. Bo would step forward, laying out the situation on Mandalore. Maul has taken the planet hostage. They need help. Obi-Wan said that he understands, and he's going to contact the Jedi Council. But Bo said there's no time, especially after the rescue mission. Anakin looked to Obi-Wan, and he promised to take the fall for this one to the Council. But they should go and do this. Take Maul down once and for all, for Qui-Gon and Satine. The words stung Obi-Wan, and he looked to Bo, Anakin, Ahsoka, the clones, and he nodded, saying they will go. And so the mission to Mandalore was launched. Back on the Invisible Hand, Kit Fisto and Plo Koon were moving through the huge ship, and they were bickering a bit on what to do first. Fisto said they should find Grievous, destroy him once and for all. He could maneuver into hyperspace at any second. Plo said their top priority is to find the Chancellor and get out of here. Destroying Grievous on this mission would be a luxury, not a priority. Fisto shook his head, saying he has unfinished business with the General, and Plo just said that he should have finished that business when he had the chance, and they wouldn't even be in this situation in the first place. Fisto chuckled a bit, saying, alright, Plo wins. They'll go to the Chancellor. So, Plo and Kit would cut their way through many droids as the ship was shaking from the battle outside. More than once, Kit confidently led them straight into a dead end, before Plo quietly pointed out that the Spire signal was now behind them. They traded some jabs as they fought their way through the ship, with Kit teasing Plo for being too careful, and Plo reminding Kit that this carefulness was the reason they were alive. The further they moved into the ship, the more tense they became, until finally they reached the door to the Spire, and both of them finally felt a presence in the Force that had been hidden from them until this moment, a presence that had been making them both feel tense. Dooku. He was here. Neither of them had expected it. They thought only Grievous was leading this mission, and if Dooku was in the Spire, waiting for the rescue team, then this had to be some sort of trap. Fisto would ask Plo what they should do. He personally didn't mind the idea of springing the trap, but Plo said they need to change course. Dooku was clearly expecting them to go for Palpatine. Instead, they should target Grievous, as Fisto initially wanted. If they attack Dooku now, and Grievous joins the battle, they may be outmatched. But if they take down Grievous, and then go for Dooku, they may have a real shot. So, the two of them would reverse course to the bridge, and in the Spire, Dooku watched through security cams as the two Jedi turned around. This was frustrating. Secretly, Dooku was orchestrating his own web of plans behind Palpatine's back. As soon as Dooku had heard the plans for Palpatine to be captured and for Skywalker to be the savior, Dooku began to question the entire Sith grand plan, not out of fear that it would fail, but rather out of fear that he was going to be the fall guy. Dooku knew Darth Sidious more than anyone in the galaxy, and for the first time, Dooku began to realize that Sidious could betray him. So, Dooku planned to betray his master instead. The reinforced ambush on Urbana was his doing. He orchestrated the capture of Skywalker and Kenobi in hopes of bringing both of them to his side. He planned to lure Fisto and Plo into the Spire. He planned to then assassinate Palpatine, and then kill both Jedi. And with that done, Dooku had planned to tell Skywalker and Kenobi that the Council Masters assassinated Palpatine as part of a plot to take over the galaxy. Alas, the entire plan was beginning to fracture, and to make it all worse, as he was hiding away in the Spire, Dooku was contacted by the droids above Urbana, as they told Dooku that the two Jedi have escaped captivity and stolen a Separatist cruiser. Dooku couldn't believe it. How did Sidious make orchestrating this war look so easy? And so, Dooku would ask where the stolen cruiser is going, and the Separatists said that it's headed for Mandalore. Dooku took a deep breath, and then contacted Grievous. He told the general to find an opening and make a hyperspace jump to Mandalore. On the bridge, Grievous was beyond relieved. He never understood the idea of just sitting in the middle of the battle with Palpatine on board, and so the jump would be calculated. And on the bridge, as the ship was moving away, the doors would open to reveal Kit Fisto and Plo Koon. Grievous was familiar with both Jedi, and he pulled out 4 lightsabers, telling them they're too late. Fisto and Plo looked past Grievous as the ship was pulled into hyperspace, and Fisto told Grievous that it's no matter. His time is at an end. And then, the two Jedi ignited their blades, preparing for battle. Meanwhile, up in the Spire, Dooku would re-enter to find Palpatine turning around, staring out at the blue stars of hyperspace. This was obviously not part of his plan. And in a calm voice that was somehow still laced with venom, Palpatine asked Dooku if he was betraying him. Dooku had no reason to lie. He told Palpatine that his grand plan is admirable, but he has realized that he will not be included. Palpatine would break free of the chains on his wrists, telling Dooku he should have the foresight to know that his death will result in a reformed, peaceful empire. He should die with honor. But Dooku ignited his red blade, and without another word, Sidious flipped backwards with a scream, igniting the blade hidden in his sleeve, as Dooku and Sidious began their duel. Back on the bridge, General Grievous would lunge first. His body dropped low. He spun forward with speed that was greater than either Jedi expected. Grievous has only gotten stronger and faster as the war has gone on. Plo Koon would meet him head-on, blue saber angled defensively, absorbing the initial storm, boots sliding across the deck. Plo pushed Grievous enough for Fisto to come in at a wider angle, slashing at Grievous's exposed ribcage, forcing the general to pivot, splitting his attention. Grievous countered, leaping onto a command console as droids and Neimoidians scattered out of here, tearing it free, hurling it towards Plo, who sliced it in half mid-air, while Kit vaulted over Grievous's sweeping legs, landing right behind him. The bridge was filled with the sounds of straining warriors, clashing blades. The three of them would then smash through a blast door, the fight spilling into the narrow halls beyond. High above, in the Spire, the duel between Dooku and Sidious was much more cold and brutal. Hot blue lightning snapped from Sidious's fingers, carving burning scars into the metal walls, as Dooku deflected it with tight, quick, controlled movements, blade humming just inches from his face. Sidious would let the lightning go, then press forward relentlessly, striking high, unleashing a brutal kick that sent Dooku skidding across the floor. Dooku had the wind knocked out of him, and he knew he would need to reach deep inside of him, further than he ever has, in order to win this fight. And so, Dooku rose slowly, blood covering his sleeve, and he answered with calculated fury, his blade cutting shallow lines right across Sidious's robes, as the force rippled outward. The air itself felt heavy, charged with years of resentment and betrayal, as Dooku screamed, smashing a force push into Sidious as he hit the bridge overlooking the area, collapsing to the floor in a heap. Back in the halls, Grievous was scrambling along the walls and the ceiling, claws digging into metal as he rained slashes downward. Kit Fisto ran up a tilted wall, meeting Grievous mid-air, blades locking as Plo Koon stepped in with perfect timing, severing one of the arms with a quick strike. Grievous recoiled, smashing through another door into a hangar area, and he pushed a button, activating the Vulture droids in here. The Vultures screamed out. Plo and Kit locked eyes, then used the same strategy, flipping from Vulture droids, crossing paths with flips, cutting the wings from the droids. And then, Kit swung from a tow cable to kick Grievous hard into a support beam. Plo used the Force, holding back the Vultures, and Kit would follow with a crushing Force push that caved in on Grievous's chest plating, allowing him to stab right through the General's heart, destroying him once and for all, as Plo shut the Vultures down. Plo shook his head, saying this was far from the day he expected to have when he woke up on Cato Nemoidia. Fisto laughed, telling Plo that this is much more fun. Back in the Spire, Sidious would recover in time, and was now hurling debris and lightning mixed together in a savage attack. Dooku was driven back, slammed against the column hard enough to fracture it. His breathing was ragged. The dark side crashed over him. Still, he pushed forward, channeling the Force to explode forward with a furious snarl, blade carving through the debris and lightning. Sidious didn't have time to move, as Dooku's strike would impale him right through the chest, sending Sidious tumbling backwards to his death. And when it was over, Dooku would collapse to his knees, leaning up against the stairs. He was exhausted, injured, and to make it all worse, the doors to the Spire would slide open, as Plo Koon and Kit Fisto would step in together, observing the scene. It was all too much to take in. The Chancellor lay dead with a lightsaber wound through his chest, and a red blade right next to his open hand. And then, the ship would emerge from hyperspace above Mandalore. Fisto and Plo would arrest Dooku, and down on Mandalore, Anakin and Ahsoka led the attack with Rex and Cody against the Mandalorians that were on Maul's side. At the same time, Obi-Wan had pursued Maul with Bo-Katan through the sewer system, eventually engaging in a final battle. Obi-Wan and Bo fought for Satine, as Maul fought for his final revenge on the Jedi that he hated above all. Maul fought with pure ferocity, but in the end, this would be where he fell. Down in the sewers of Mandalore, Obi-Wan would cut through his hands and send Maul crashing to the ground. He would hold up his blade, telling Maul to surrender, but a blaster shot would ring out from Bo, ending Maul here. She had no need for him to surrender, and no Jedi code to live by, and Obi-Wan would accept this. Anakin and Ahsoka would win the battle for Mandalore together, blending their fighting abilities, just like they had so often during the war. It felt so good to be back. Neither of them had to say anything. They just knew how much this meant. Within the hour, Kit Fisto and Plo Koon would find them, and the two Jedi would show the others the scene of the invisible hand. Palpatine is dead, but also clearly a Sith Lord. Grievous is destroyed. Dooku was knocked out and arrested, as he was placed aboard a Republic Venator that was just called here to come pick all of them up. It was all so chaotic, but it was also over. All they could do now was accept it, and when the group returned to Coruscant, Mandalore was free. Coruscant was recovering from the attack. The Jedi would tell the Senate of their findings, and with Dooku in custody, and Palpatine exposed for working with Dooku, the war would come to a quick end. The galaxy would see peace. Plo, Obi-Wan, and Kit would return to their council seats, and they would help welcome newly promoted Master Skywalker to his own seat as well. Anakin would learn that Padme is pregnant, and when she eventually gave birth, there was a celebration on Naboo, rather than a punishment, as the Jedi were evolving. Within years, Plo Koon and Kit Fisto would tell Luke and Leia the full story of how they were the ones to effectively end the war. They may have embellished the story a bit, saying that they defeated Grievous, Sidious, and Dooku, but Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan made sure to tell the twins not to believe all of it. Either way, the galaxy saw peace. Luke and Leia were set to become Jedi, and Padme had a key role in rebuilding the broken Republic back to what it was meant to be. And folks, that is our story for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. About a week ago, maybe less, maybe more, give or take, whatever, someone said, you should do a story with Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. And I was like, heck yeah, I should. Because they're, if you told everyone in these comment section, rank your top 10, sorry, my mic was giving out. Anyways, if I told you all, rank your top 5, top 10 Jedi, I feel like Plo and Kit would both, come pretty close in there. You got Anakin, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Yoda, Windu, whatever, but I think you get to, the secondary type Jedi, and you get to Plo, Kit Fisto, pretty quickly, so, and I don't know why, they just, give off partnership vibes, if you will, to me at least, so I really enjoyed this story. I think I've done one before in the past where I had these two partner up, but this one is it's in the title. It's really advertised that it's going to be a story featuring these two Jedi, so I had fun with it. I think their dynamic would be kind of like Anakin and Obi-Wan, where Kit Fisto's a little bit more bickery and fun. Plo is a little more stoic, but able to have fun. I don't know. We don't see a ton of them, and obviously in the movie, Fisto is silent and dies like Plo, but in the Clone Wars, we get a ton, or a little, enough to go off of, so appreciate you guys. Let me know what you want to see next, other characters you might like in stories like this. Ava Sakura, Mundi, even, whatever. But, yep. Thanks, I'm done rambling, and I'll see you in the next video.